started. We've got several people jumping on. So what we're going to do tonight is we're going to do a little slideshow in the beginning that I'm going to do for like probably about 5 minutes before we introduce our speaker, kind of go over a little bit about what we do and how we can help you guys. But just so you know, I want you to get used to the Q&A button up top on the toolbar, or maybe on the bottom of your screen, depending on what you're using, phone, computer, whatever. I want you to use the Q&A throughout the evening, and I want you to send in questions. During Al's presentation, it's not going to interrupt him, and it's not going to interrupt me. We want you to send in the questions while you're thinking about them. We don't want you to miss the opportunity to ask a question because you forgot, because you held on to it for an hour on the webinar. So Al's going to start the presentation off. When I get done introducing him, he's going to do a slideshow presentation as well. And his talk's going to probably last about an hour. And then we're going to open it up to Q&A in the end for the last 20 to 30 minutes. Okay, so make sure you send your questions in during the whole presentation so that we can answer them in the end. If we missed any questions that weren't able to be answered, you can reach out to Al afterwards. He's going to be giving you guys some contact information to get a hold of him. I'm going to be going ahead and starting out with my presentation in just a few minutes. And like I said, save all of your Q&A until the end. We also provide you with a lot of bonuses for staying on until the actual end of the entire webinar. If you stay on until the end of the webinar, we're going to be giving away a free county for anybody who purchases Foreclosures Daily between now and Friday. We're also going to be giving a lot of bonuses to you guys, such as phone scripts and you know, stuff like that for anybody who purchases leads. So let me go ahead and get started. I'm Tangi Cousins. I work with Foreclosures Daily, and I have been with the company for Foreclosure Daily since 2004. And since then, we have helped many investors, realtors, and attorneys grow their business and increase their revenues. I teach people the do's and don'ts of marketing, how to use different types of leads that we offer, and so on and so forth. My contact information is in the bottom of the screen. It is Tangi at ForeclosuresDaily.com. If you would like to get a hold of me and ask me any questions after the webinar, or just reach out to me in general. Who we are, we're a nationwide lead provider. We provide leads to investors, realtors, attorneys, and just your basic first-time home buyer. We've been in business since 2004, guys, and we're still going strong. And since then, we have been the internet's #1 destination for the most detailed, timely, and accurate information on the planet. How we're different is all of our leads have real estate attached, every single one of them, and delivered daily, weekly, or monthly, depending on the data type that you get. For example, our foreclosures in Florida are daily. Anywhere else, they're typically monthly. The probates are weekly and fresh, and they're all farmed for real estate as well. Most of the data that we offer has some sort of property appraiser's data information on it, whether it be bedrooms, baths, type of property, just your basic information about the house. Most companies we've found, guys, are quarterly, and it's very important that you understand the difference between our company and other companies out there. So I'm going to explain it in detail. If 300 people were to, let's say, file probate in 1 month and only 15 had property, or file divorce in one week or whatever, and only 15 had property, we're only going to give you the 15. Other companies out there are going to give you all 300. That's a really big problem. 300 people that you don't need to market to, and you only needed to market to 15, that means you're going to send 285 pieces of mail for no reason. You're going to do 285 skip traces for no reason, ringless voicemail, whatever it is you're doing, guys, you're going to spend money marketing to 285 extra people for no reason. So don't waste your time. We literally have no competition because we're weekly and fresh and farmed for real estate. So it's very important you understand that. Some of the leads that we offer, and I'm just going to name a few, guys. We have many more, but I'm going to hit the hot ones. So probates, we have things like probates, pre-probate, absentee owners, and inheritance, divorce leads, tax leads, auctions, list pendants, cash buyers list, code violation, evictions, distressed homeowners. Guys, we can even customize your leads for you. Like if you want, let's say, 50,000 homeowners who have owned their property for 12, 10, 15 years or more that have a 40% equity, we can help you out with that too. But let's talk about probate and pre-probate for just a moment, okay? Now, Probate and pre-probate by far are some of the best leads you'll ever get. They have a lot of equity. They typically don't mind taking a discount, and they're very, very motivated. People tend to be like 50 and 60 when they lose their parents. So they usually don't want the property. They usually want to sell the property. Now, because they didn't buy the property, they've got no skin in the game, right? So therefore, they typically don't mind taking a really big discount. And you're able to get these properties for usually wholesale prices, okay? Probates and pre-probates are amazing. Let me explain the difference. A pre-probate basically means that they did not file probate typically. Usually, a pre-probate means that they died last week. We verified there's real estate attached, and then we give the lead to you this week. The benefit of using a pre-probate is not only are you first at the door, which is really important, guys, okay, because you want to follow them through the whole process, but not only are you first at the door, but if they inherit the property via a trust, they don't have to put it through probate. And you could buy that property maybe right away. And Al Nicoletti is going to teach you tonight how to do that probate in 5 to 14 days if you're in his area. And by the way, Al practices law in Florida. He may not practice law in your area, but he usually knows a really good attorney that he may be able to hook you up with if you're in a different state that he can't help you in. So listen to him tonight. You're going to learn a lot of good information about pre-probates. So pre-probates are good. 1 week after the death, everybody's dying to get on that list. Sorry, guys, that's just a really bad joke. Probates are great too, guys. Probates are amazing. Once the probate is filed and recorded, and we verify there's real estate attached, we'll get the lead to you 1 week later. And the benefit of using a probate lead is obviously if they have to go through probate, at least they've already filed and they may be closer to making a decision. So there's huge benefits to working probate and pre-probate. A lot of people want to know, should I work in both? Is there going to be some duplication? Yeah, but who cares? Because it's at a time when you need to remarket to them all over again. Let's say example that they passed away last week. You get the lead now, and 7-8 months later, they decide to file probates. They had to wait that long because they didn't have the money, right? Now it hits your probate list and you're getting the lead again, but it doesn't matter. You're probably done marketing to them by then. So it's called striking the iron while it's hot. And not everybody on the pre-probate list is going to go on the probate list. So you got to keep that in mind too, guys. Other leads are good, like absentee owners. Divorce leads are really good. It's like 1 week after they file for divorce, right? These people just filed for divorce a week ago, and we're already giving the lead to you, and you can market to the property, expressing interest in purchasing the property for cash right now and help them. And the biggest thing that they fight about, a couple in a divorce, is their property, especially if they both want to sell it. You're giving them an out now to help them handle this right now. So divorce leads are really good too. So let's just move on, but I'm going to talk a little bit more about leads at another time, guys. I have webinars out there that you can find us on YouTube, ForeclosuresDaily.com. Look us up on YouTube. We've got about 25 other videos on there that you can rewatch. Now, let me talk about some mailings and stuff, guys, because I recommend postcards and letters. A lot of people try to just cold call probates, and I teach people so much. I'm like, mailing is really important, guys. They say that by the time you get to your 7 to 8 step mailing campaign, 6 to 7 step mailing campaign, that increases your response rate by like 80%. So it's really important that you do a mailing campaign. A lot of people try to get, I hate to say lazy, but a lot of people just want to be lazy and cold call or just SMS or ringless voicemail because it's easier, right? And if we took the easy road on everything that we did, you're going to get the results that you put into it. So you're going to get out of this what you put into it. I made it so easy. We here at Foreclosure Daily are going to give you a toolbox full of stuff, and we've made it so easy for you to market to these people. You go to this company that we give you access to, that we recommend, and you literally click on our link, and it takes you right to all the postcards that I recommend. And they'll mail them out for you for literally 38 to 42 cents with postage. Hey, is this your house? Are you selling this? I mean, it's a great postcard. People are getting huge response rates. Your national average response rates like 0.5 to 1.5%. Guys, I got people getting 3, 5, 10, even 15% response rates with these postcards. So this is another thing that we can do for you, is we can point you in the right direction to people who can help assist you in making these leads, driving these leads forward so that they can make money for you. Here's a letter I recommend. It's really nice. It's wrote with handwritten font that this company does for you, and they make it look like you hand wrote the envelope. They make it look like you hand wrote the letter. And literally, for 64 cents with postage, they'll mail this letter for you just for mentioning us. So that's another good lead source for you. And here's some of the bonuses you do receive when you sign up for our leads. It's Foreclosures Daily toolbox full of stuff that we put together for you. And the owner's allowing you to have a 6-step mailing campaign, a 6-touch campaign telling you how often to mail, the spacing in between, how many times to mail. I'm going to give you my phone scripts on how to talk to the person who answers the decedent's phone versus how to talk to the person who answers the family member's phone. And if you're using a really good skip tracing company like we recommend, on the pre-probate leads, who do you call, right? Well, you want to reach out to the person who answers the decedent's phone, but the really good skip tracing service, for 15 cents, they'll give you the decedent's phone number and talk to whoever answers, but for free, they'll also give you the surrounding family members and their phone numbers in the area too, at no cost if you ask. So you're also going to get an email to send to the attorney expressing interest in the said property. And this is perfect for Al. He'll tell you what happens. You know, you call the offices of most attorneys and they don't answer their phone. They don't call you back. They don't have time. But Al's not like that. He's gonna reach back out to you. And even the attorneys that don't have time to answer their phone, if you put it in writing in an email expressing interest in the said probate property, they can't withhold information from their clients, guys. Most of the attorneys will just forward it right to the PR for you, and he'll tell you the same thing. So there's a lot of different things that you're going to get for buying leads through Foreclosures Daily. And we are actually allowing anybody on this webinar that signs up by Friday, we're going to give a free county to you at no additional charge. But you have to make a commitment. You have to make a longer commitment. You have to commit to at least 6 months. And the reason why we want you to do this is the people that make the longer commitments tend to be much more successful in the long run because they're working the list longer, stronger, harder. They're not pushed. They got more skin in the game. So they're going to be a lot more serious. So when you make a 6 month or a year commitment, we are going to give you a free county for anybody who purchases 6 months or a year by Friday. We will mail a probate book to you called Probate Real Estate Sales 101. And if you go to ForeclosuresDaily.com, on our website, you will see Kevin Sales. He's the author that wrote that book. He's personal friends with the owner. He knows all of us. He's actually flew here from California. We met him in person, and we give you a probate book. Every single person who buys leads from us gets a probate book mailed directly to your property called Probate Real Estate Sales 101. And not only that, we'll share his webinar replay with you, teaching the 7 ways to make money in probate real estate investing. So those are just some of the toolboxes, bonuses that we give you guys, okay? I'm going to go ahead and talk about the prices real quick, and then I got to get Al on, okay, guys, because I don't want to take up any more of Al's time. His time is really precious. We've been bugging him for a long time to get back on this webinar because we had such a hit the last time. People were so upset that they missed it and they couldn't get on it. So we've asked Al to come back, and he's taken time out of his huge busy schedule to be here tonight. These are our prices, and these are discounted. We never give a free county on discounted rates. We've always given a free county on list prices only. But between now and Friday, the owner is allowing you to have a free county if you purchase 6 months or a year. $9.99 for 6 months, $17.50 for a year. We're going to give you a free county with that price. Now, I'd like to talk about Al. I'm getting ready to introduce Al, okay? But what I want to talk about is, while I stop sharing my screen, Al's going to start sharing his screen, and we're going to talk about him for just a brief moment because Al's been an attorney for quite a long time, and I think 5-10 years or something like that, and he specializes in pre-probate and probate and quiet titles as well as partitions, and he'll talk to you about that too. He also does trusts. So even if you don't end up using him for probate leads because you're in a different area or anything, you can also refer him for anybody. He works in Florida. He'll tell you the states that he works in, but you can also use him for other things like partitions and trust and quiet titles. And guys, he has his own YouTube channel, Al Nicoletti. So if you look him up, he's got his own YouTube channel. And without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and turn everything over to Al Nicoletti.
Thank you so much, Tangi. Am I live?
Hey! So excited to see you.
Good to see you. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, Foreclosures Daily, for having me. I'm so excited to do this webinar, Cracking the Code, Florida Probate Secrets Revealed. I've been waiting for a month and a half. When you and the company said, let's do this, I was on it, designing it. So I'm ready to dive in.
I know Angela's been pushing you to get you back on here. Al, we need to do this. So thank you so much.
I'm in. I'm ready to do it. So
I'm going to turn the floor over to you, Al. I'm going to go ahead and mute my video and screen and everything and my voice, and I'll come back on in about an hour to do Q&A, I guess. Let me know. Thank you.
All right, everybody. My name is Al Nicoletti. I'm an attorney here in Jacksonville Beach, Florida. And today I'm so happy. I see how many people are on right now, and this is a special treat for you. I have never done this type of presentation before. I'm going to go through so many little secrets about probate. You're going to be so happy you are sticking around to listen to all of them, because we are going to talk about some of the key probate secrets you've all wanted to know, you keep hearing, and I love sharing this. So I can't wait to dive in. I'm going to dive in right now, and I hope you enjoy it. And I want you to find me on Facebook, okay? Find me on Facebook at Al Nicoletti. Add me on there. I do videos. I do little content pieces on there. So find me every week. I'm posting something. It is so valuable to you. Also, check out my YouTube channel. On the YouTube channel, add me, subscribe. I give tons of content. I'd love to hear feedback from everybody, whether it's stories, experiences, whatever it is. Add me, subscribe on there. I do all these videos like you can see on the screen. It is going to be so valuable to your business. So I want everyone to share their experiences, share your stories on here. Drop a comment in Zoom, drop a question, drop a story. I like to hear what you have to say. Before I've even begun the webinar, we'll talk about this at the end like Tangi talked about, but share your experience, nightmares, successes, anything that you can relate to with anything in the probate field. So also, this is cracking the code, right? So we're just gonna dive right in. We're gonna get down in it, down to the secrets, nothing else, and we're gonna enter this vault, okay? And the vault is gonna have all these secrets in it. So stay tuned, because the first one, the pre-probate market, it's an absolute gold mine, secret 27. It is so crazy how many pre-probates are out there, whether it's recent or they've been paying the taxes for 20 years. The amount out there is crazy, especially in Florida. All my Florida people, Jacksonville, shout out, put a comment in the box of Zoom. Love to hear from you. But so many are out there, and they're really just waiting for the right pitch, right? Because they've never been approached the right way. People aren't coming to them the right way. But it's just a huge gold mine waiting to be touched in the pre-probate world. I show this to you in other presentations. The silver tsunami. It is coming, 2020, 2030, 2040. Look at all the cities that this is going to hit, baby boomers that own real estate. So not just Florida, all the people out there interested in all these different types of leads, Arizona, Ohio, Pennsylvania, these are gonna be huge areas. And believe it or not, Tampa is number 1. Number 2, Tucson, Arizona, Miami, and Orlando, 3 and 4. It's crazy where the market's going. So people need to know that, right? So when you're investing in all of this stuff, you need to know, what kind of niche am I getting in? This is a credible niche. I love this business. This is a big part of my business. But look at the stats. Tampa and Miami, Orlando, it's going to be 1/3 of the real estate owned is going to be by this baby boomer period, right? So people back in the 70s, they invested in real estate. They didn't really invest in Roths and IRAs and all of that brokerage stuff, but they invested in real estate. So the amount of real estate that is going to be in Florida, that's going to be in Arizona, owned by baby boomers, you have a huge market. So that's a huge thing. And when I say the pitch, right? So these pre-probates, these probates, they're looking for the right pitch, and they've been sitting around, they're fresh, and they're looking for somebody that's going to say, hey, look, we'll buy the property. Don't worry. We know somebody. We know an attorney that's going to be able to wait until the closing to get paid. And by the way, if it's $250, $650, you can't pay it. Guess what? We'll pay it for you. I mean, they're waiting for the right pitch. Investors in Florida can pay it for them if they agree to that. And like an attorney myself, I wait until the end for the fees. So the point being is the pre-probate market is so untapped, and it's because they're approached by maybe attorneys that charge a lot up front, but don't wait until the end, right? And I'm going to cover this at the end too. This is another thing I'm going to cover as we go. But Secret 26, they are highly motivated. And I can tell you this from my experience. I've seen it. I've done 80 probates this year. It's only September, right? COVID actually didn't affect my business. That's something for you to know. COVID did not affect my pre-probate or probate business. It's amazing. I see investors that make incredible margins. There was one I had in Nassau. There was like $100,000 in a margin in equity after they bought the deal. They could have flipped it, made an assignment, maybe about $90,000 if they wanted to do it. The amount of probates that are highly motivated is just incredible. Probate is an easy experience. I have an article coming out in the Florida Realtor magazine and talks about this. And it's just so easy. You don't have to know the key terms. You don't have to know all the logistics and technical aspects. You don't have to know the complicated words and definitions. Don't worry about that. This is as simple as any real estate transaction you've ever done, right? This is just doing your inspections, getting all the things done, running the numbers. When it comes to probate, don't worry about keywords like petitioner, personal representative, accounting. You know, some of these books go into too many things, right? They go into so many things that are not relevant to you in a real estate sense. Forget it. Don't worry about that. That is huge for you to know. I hear people that call me and they want to know, well, what about the inventory and what about the final? Forget it. Don't even worry about that. Just make your offer, make the pitch, find out if a probate's needed. Just get it going. Don't have to worry about it. I get this question all the time. You would have asked me this question 2 years ago. It would probably be a really long answer. And now I've really simplified it. What is probate? People want to know what it is. All it is the transfer of title from the deceased to the heirs. That's it. That's all probate is. You don't have to read some long book. You don't have to look it up on the internet, hear all of these things. All you need to know is probate is just transferring title. And it's a huge title insurance requirement. I can't tell you how many times a title will come back and it'll say, quote, proper probate proceedings required. And that's because the underwriter, the title insurance company, wants a probate done to be able to write a buyer's policy for title insurance. So this is not just something we have to do to transfer title, but title insurance requires it. So it's incredible how they require it. They just want it. Timing, huge. Probate, I don't know where this all started from. I don't know why it is this way. It frustrates me when I hear this and I see people post on Facebook and they'll say, what was your longest deal? And it's not the deal that took 8 months because nobody could get along. It was the probate deal, right? Like I saw a post one time, it took 8 months. It took 2 years. Why? It's crazy. Probate does not take that long, okay? It could take 1 to 6 days. It could take 1 to 4 weeks. It could take 5 weeks. It could take 2 months. But this whole thing of 4, 9 months is crazy. Throw that out wherever that happened. Now, there are exceptions. We are in a nasty litigation case. It's taken 1.5 years. But that doesn't happen with everyday probate. Everyday probate is one house, mom, dad died, and there's 2 kids, 3 kids, maybe 1 kid. That's it. It's not complicated. It doesn't need to take that long. And if it's taking that long, something's wrong. And these are my times, right? I share this all the time. Hillsborough. I did a probate in Hillsborough in pre-COVID. I did it in 1 week. And then I did one in Duval County, and I did it in 2 days. I mean, these are true. And then I did one in Broward County right before COVID hit, and I got that done in 30 days. And then Miami, this one I just had. Miami, there were 10 heirs. Mom died. She had a house. There were 7 children, 2 of them predeceased mom. And so of those 2 children, one had 3 kids, the other had 2. And it was homestead property. We'll talk about this, but all of those children and lineal descendants needed to be on the real estate contract. I don't know how I did it. All of them for the probate signed all the documents we needed. Everyone went to closing. The title company got everybody to get deeds. Done. I got that probate done, filed, closed in 8 days in Miami. And I thought, I mean, before COVID, I'm from Miami, so I know Miami can take a while, but I couldn't believe that during COVID it would take 8 days. And then Duval did a double probate, 3 days each. So I'm showing you these things, not just for anything I've done, but to show you this is crazy. I don't know where it's gotten out of hand about probate takes forever and all these books about, oh, Al, I've heard it takes 8 to 12 months. Lee County, I'll talk about how I bypassed ancillary administration. in Lee County, but did it in 20 days. So everything doesn't take this long. Columbia County, not that long, 8 days. Nassau County, 4 days. 4 days. I can't even make these numbers up with you. And then Clay County or Putnam County was 3 weeks. And then Clay County, the one that I couldn't believe, only took 1 day, filed and closed. So I'm trying to show you these things right up front so you know that this niche is possible. If I waited all the way until the end of this presentation to show you my times, everybody would have this preconceived notion that, oh yeah, well that's great, Al, that's great, probate is, you know, all these things, but yeah, we still heard it takes forever. Now I'm demystifying the whole probate niche. It doesn't take that long. I have to show you these times, and if you ever want to know the times again, I can go back later when we talk about it with Tangi. So, secret 22, where does the probate happen? So when I talk about this, it's Florida, but check your jurisdiction. Florida, it's where the person lived and resided. So if you ever wanted to know that, it is where the person lived and resided. So even if the house was here in Jacksonville, but they resided in Fort Myers, the probate starts in Fort Myers. Fun fact, people ask me that, where do we go, where do we begin? When is probate needed and not needed? Here's a fun fact for you. If there's a husband, the only one on the deed, or wife, only one on the deed, and the other, it dies, and the person on the deed dies, and the spouse is alive, you still need a probate. I've heard people say, oh, well, we don't need probate because they're married. Careful. And there's homestead restrictions in Florida about that if there's children or minors. So you're kind of looking for these things on deeds like tenants in common. Crazy. I mean, this pops up on title commitments all the time. What avoids probate are trusts, revocable trusts, joint tenants, the survival of the fittest. They don't teach you that. Husband and wife, and the life estate, ladybird deed. I mean, you're looking for some of these things to help give you issue spots, right? So these are supposed to give you tools in your box to think, okay, maybe there's a probate here. Maybe there's no probate here. It's really fascinating stuff. So this really goes to Florida, primary residence. In Florida, if it's only homestead property, everybody needs to hear this. You're really only dealing with one property in probate. So you're thinking, oh, there's probably like 5 properties, 6 properties. That'd be great. But usually probate only involves one property. And in Florida, if that one property is the primary residence, probate can be done so quick. It can be done really quick because homestead in Florida is exempt from most creditors. Creditors can't touch the property unless it's Uncle Sam, mortgage company, mechanics lien, certain things attach, but many of them just don't attach. And homestead for primary residence is important. So if you come across that one where you find out mom died, she was the only one that died, and there were 6 kids, all 6 need to sign the real estate contract. All 6 have to sign the real estate contract because when they go to the closing table, the title insurance underwriter isn't just going to say, oh, okay, we'll just take one of them. They want all 6 to sign deeds out to the buyer. So even if it's non-homestead, so let's just say it's land, it's a really good practice to get all of them. I had a situation recently, we thought it was non-homestead. So we were just gonna, the investor got everybody to sign, but I was going to get a personal representative appointed, and we found out it was homestead property, and we were so happy that all of the heirs signed. They signed deeds at closing. So it's good practice to make sure all heirs sign the contract. Creditors, if it's just only the homestead, creditor files a claim, only certain creditors really can make a claim against homestead property. So in Florida, that's why it can go so fast. If nobody's doing anything, nobody's mailing, and they've done their searches, only certain creditors in Florida can attach to the homestead. So mortgages, federal taxes, major improvements to the land. These things don't, those stick, but Visa, MasterCard, Home Depot, Comcast, I get notices still from things that are over. They had no claim. They had no attachment to the real estate. There was no bank account. There was no IRA. There was nothing. All it was the house. So just know that when you have that, it can go faster. Creditors, if there are creditors. So I get this question, they say, oh, Al, you know, do we have to wait the 30-day period for known creditors, or the 3-month, that dreaded newspaper thing that sometimes we have to do? We have to wait that whole time. Actually, you don't. So this is secret 18. You don't have to wait the whole time if there will be court approval for the money to be held in escrow. I did it during COVID. I did it again during COVID. There was a property that there were creditors still mailing. We had to get the property sold. I made sure we sent the order in, had all the language we needed, and the money just was held. Property got sold. So even if there are creditors, there could be a way to get around it. Just like I had in Lee County, the date of death was less than 2 years, but we needed to make sure that everything went through so we could preserve the estate, preserve the money. And the court said, yep, the sale can go through as long as the money was held in escrow. Crazy for people to know that. That can affect a deal. Non-homestead. So non-homestead, this applies a little bit in Florida. So non-homestead is not the primary residence, but land, secondary house, third house. This can be done really fast. Just as fast as homestead if it's under $75,000. If it's over $75,000, we'll talk, right? So it's going to be a little bit different. Newspaper publication, we'll have to do the language. But again, it's good for all heirs to sign. It makes it better practice. At least everyone's on board. Yes. Could a personal representative appointed executor in other states? In Florida, it's personal representative. But could a personal representative be appointed in the probate for non-homestead? Sure. But how many times do you deal with non-homestead? If it's land, you do. But just know that all heirs signing could be really good. Cute secret in my probate world about homestead. So I had this where the primary residence was on one side and there was land on the other, and they were conjoining lots. And so we had to figure out, how do we get this done? How do we get the house and the land? Because you're probably thinking, well, you have two technical pieces of property. Well, there was a way in our probate world to actually combine both, to call it both homestead. That's what's so cool about Florida homestead law. Homestead in Florida, people really overlook. They only think taxes. They think, oh, the tax exemption we get. There's so much more to it than the tax exemption. There's way more to it. There's creditor issues. There's probate stuff involved. So just know that if you ever find a house and land next to each other and they're contiguous, they're next to each other, you can have a really cool strategy where it's done faster. 2 years after date of death. 2 years after the date of death, probate goes even faster. Why? Because after 2 years in Florida, you don't have to worry about creditors anymore. Yeah, mortgages stick, anything federal, IRS lien, yeah, but they will get paid off at closing eventually if there is one. But credit cards, Visa, MasterCard, where we have to do certified mail, forget it. 2 years after the death, probate goes even faster. Less than 2 years. We have to find out. We have to find out what creditors are around. We don't always have to do the newspaper publication. It depends. But that's when people say, wow, so date of death of mom was 2015. And immediately I'm thinking, oh, this is going to be like that. Everybody's on board. It's going to go faster. It's just how it is, especially in Florida. Check your jurisdiction. It may be different in other states. I think I heard today California was a lot less time than Florida, but you never know. This is a hot one. Petitioner, personal representative. Somebody the other day was talking about, oh, what about the personal representative? We're always looking for the personal representative. No, there does not always have to be a personal representative in Florida. Maybe another jurisdiction, maybe Georgia's, there's always an executor. Maybe California, always an executor. Arizona, always. But in Florida, we could just have a petitioner. A personal representative is just somebody that's going to have authority to sign docs with different kinds of probate, right? So it depends if it's land over a certain value. But these primary residences, it could be just a petitioner and you have all heirs. So if it's just a homestead, again, you need all heirs to sign. So you don't always have to have a personal representative when you do these probates. Can't talk about this enough. I always require a title commitment before I begin any probate. I've had people email me these like long emails about why. I've never had to do that before. You have no idea how many times early on in my career, we got a title commitment after the probate was done and there was no equity. There was a mortgage. We got burned. I made $400 off one thing. It was awful because the title commitment tells you exactly who's on title. It tells you what's on title, like mortgages, liens, and it gives you a really good breakdown of everything. Property appraiser is just not accurate, right? So don't rely on the property appraiser. Florida, if you're watching right now, I'm telling you, property appraisers are good for some things. They may have deeds on them. They may have a title on them, but careful. You want to get title commitments because they are a forensic title examination of what's happening on title. So it tells the whole story and how many probates are on. Can't stress it enough. Always get the title commitment. Do wills avoid probate? Great question in Florida. Wills do not avoid probate. Wills guide where probate goes. Wills are just telling the court who gets what, or does a trust get something, right? And we're going to talk about trust when we get to the closer to the end secret about what happens with trust administration, because it comes up, right? You may not find a probate, but you may find a trust, and the trust is all screwy. So just know, wills do not avoid probate and that they guide probate. This was a hot question last time when Tangi and I were on. Reverse mortgages and mortgage foreclosures. Is there any difference? No, it's a foreclosure, except the reverse mortgage is where the person that owned the property tapped out equity of their home because they substantially paid the loan off, right? They had it paid off, so they were able to tap out equity a lot less than the house was worth. And when they die, the bank now wants to accelerate the note, and they want way more than that person received to tap out the equity. Crazy. It's going to happen so much more. There's crazy mortgage foreclosure litigation defenses in it that I learned in Miami. But mortgages, reverse mortgages, there's no difference. You can find tons of probate, pre-probate, and pre-foreclosures. Huge lead opportunity. If you didn't want to go after pre-probate, probate, pre-foreclosure leads are incredible because they can't pay, they forgot to pay, or they're dead. And so there you go. You have a probate lead right there. Double, triple probates. Can that happen? So mom dies and then survived by 2 kids, but this one's deceased, and then they go down that line, survived by a spouse. Ow, can we even do this? Is this even possible? I got asked this question last night. Yes, multiple probates, double, triple probates are possible. You have to strategize. You have to really look into what is happening. But during COVID, I had one where the underwriter said that we only had to do 1 probate. So I told them, I said, let's get this done. The investor was all ready. We go to the title company. I got the order, 3 days. Title comes back and says, oh, the underwriter said we have to do another probate. So I was like, oh, all right, well, you know what? Let's do this thing. I did it again in 3 days. That was the one I was talking about in the beginning, the double probate. This is possible. So don't think because there has to be multiple that you're out of the game. You're in the game. You just have to see if it's worth it. And we'll talk about running for the hills. Bypassing ancillary administration. This one was probably the most fun I had this year in Lee County. So we were always thinking, oh, so mom dies in Arizona. Her primary residence, or where she lived, not just house, was in Arizona. But she owned like this little lot here in Lee County. And so we were thinking, oh, well, we have to open up one in Arizona. Then we have to open up one in Lee County. And so when we started getting an attorney over in Arizona, didn't pick up the phone, didn't get back to me, dragged the feet, and we said, you know what, we're going to try something. So the investor was down. He was like, let's do this thing, let's do it. We just opened up a probate in Lee County alone. We didn't even bother with Arizona. There was no property. There was nothing over there. We just opened up the probate down here. And you know what? That's the one that I talked about in the screen. It took 20 days just to get the order authorizing sale. Property sold out. Incredible. And now in my slides, it's now called the Arizona experiment. It was unbelievable. I love it, and we can talk about it. You can drop your questions, drop your comments in there. I couldn't believe it. We didn't need ancillary. I had this in Miami, power of attorneys and probate. So we had this where two of the heirs, one was in prison and then the other was incompetent. And so this was the one with the 10 heirs in Miami I was talking about. So before we even started the probate, I said, where are the power of attorneys? They said, oh, we have them. I said, okay, I want you to do this. Scan it to me so I see that we can do it for the probate. And you need to forward it to the underwriter, the originals, not just the copies, the originals. Title insurance wants to see originals recorded. So they did. And you know what? The power of attorney allowed the probate for the person that was nominated, and it allowed the real estate transaction, and the underwriter agreed. Moral of the story, everybody has to be in line with the attorney, the title company, buyer, seller. Everybody has to be in line. And you have to find out, where's the original POA? Can this be possible? And does title insurance allow it? It happened. We got the probate done, 8 days, and it got it closed. Number 7, this was crazy. Personal representatives deeds. So I'm going to start with the personal story. I'm done with personal representatives deeds. I'm not doing any more of them unless I get a court order or the will says I can do it. So I had a situation in Nassau County. The seller was not listening to what I was trying to tell him about. We need to get a title commitment. We need to figure out what title says. So in my mind, in the puzzle, we were going to open up the wife. We had to do hers first. Then we were going to transfer it to the husband. Long story about husband and wife thing, but just follow me. The wife, we had to transfer to the husband, and from husband to the children. So he didn't want to get a title company. He just wanted to get it done. So we did a personal representative's deed to husband, got an order authorizing sale to the kids. He finally gets a buyer. We finally go to title. Title calls me, and when title calls me, I'm like, oh boy, what's going on? And they said, oh, Al, the title commitment came back and said, they want you to get an order confirming distribution. And I thought, since when is a personal representative's deed not allowed? Careful, because unless the will says you can do it, or there's a court order of distribution, title insurance seems to have an issue with PR deeds. So whether it's something in a probate or something you run across on title, just red flag goes way up, and you need to be careful when you see a personal representative's deed. Probate real estate contract. There's no specific contract, right? As is FAR-BAR, use whatever's popular. You could use those contracts. There's just nothing specific for probate. Check your jurisdiction, but in Florida, that's the as is FAR-BAR contract. All heirs, get all heirs to sign. Title insurance. They are going to want deeds at the closing. They're going to want deeds at the closing, and they're going to want everyone to be there to sign that. Okay, so every title insurance company is different. Just be aware of what title insurance wants. Always ask, be involved. Be involved with title companies more. Whether they like it or not, maybe they want you to be involved. They just don't say anything, or maybe they don't want you to be involved and like, don't come anymore. But it's so important that you find out what they are looking for. I'm sure everybody's going to write this one down. So if you do want to make an offer on probate real estate, whether you're the seller, whether you're the buyer, it's good to put clauses in there that relate to the probate court orders, right? So even if it's not an Al Nicoletti special that you're working on where it's 3 to 6 days, but it's something else, you found another probate, somebody else working on it, you could always put the contract closing subject to probate court orders. Or the other one that I thought of was whether it related to probate or not. Closing is subject to the satisfaction of title insurance requirements. So I guess if it doesn't really work out for the title insurance requirements, maybe you back out. So just food for thought on the types of language you would want in your real estate contract is super important, because if things don't go right, or maybe the court takes a little bit longer, at least you have something that can say, look, we don't have to worry about extensions, right? So extensions are kind of on the back burner because we have this clause in place. But these could be some good clauses for things that you work on probate or not probate. And then, again, let me talk about this right before I get to secret number 3, 2, and 1. Again, what is your pitch? These probate and pre-probate, they need the right pitch. They need somebody to tell them, we know somebody that can wait till the end, that can wait all the way until that closing, that all they need is minimal costs up front, and that if you don't have it, if you don't have that money, you can front it for them. And what better offer? If all they're doing is selling a house and they don't put any money down and they're waiting all the way until the end, and we just get everything back at the end, everything works out. I mean, it works out for the seller, the buyer, just everyone. If you have the right pitch, it makes all the difference in the pre-probate niche. That just came off my tongue perfectly. So secret number 3, trusts. How many of you, and please drop a comment in the Zoom box about this. Probate, forget it. You find a property titled in a trust, but when you pull title comes back and says, it's only in the name of successor trustee. No name. It just says successor trustee. And so there's a title issue, right? You think, oh, we need to do probate. Trusts avoid probate, but trusts may not avoid court administration. So this is important because you may find probates that are, the house is titled in a trust, or somebody died and the house is titled in a trust, but the trust is all screwed, right? So it's leaving it to this company that doesn't want to serve. And if you look at number 4, it says successor trustee. That's it. There's no name. So we as lawyers have to get retained by the beneficiaries and open up a court file, open up a court administration to get the judge to appoint new trustees that now have authority to sell the real estate, and the title insurance company is going to be all happy and satisfied. Look out for that. I had one in Volusia. We got it done. It happens way more than people think. Secret 2, quiet title. Something that people don't think about when they're coming up with alternatives and roadblocks to probate or after probate. Maybe somebody owned the property and then somebody recorded a fraudulent deed. I have that right now in Florida. There was a lady, she inherited real estate in a probate, sole owner. All of a sudden, she wanted to sell the property, and she checked the title to the property and found out a random somebody recorded a deed on the property, and it is called a wild deed. That person doesn't have title to the property. She never conveyed it. And so now after the probate's done, she wants to sell, and the investor's like, well, what do we do? And she's retained us to now do a quiet title to get rid of that fraudulent wild deed. And it's crazy because I bring this up, not just because it's probate, but it's because what can happen with your investor situations even when you don't come across the probate. Wild deeds, fraudulent recorded deeds, I don't know how that's getting around, but it's subject to a quiet title lawsuit, and they can get removed. And quiet titles are great. They can remove judgment liens, recorded liens, and they're critical because if there's issues with title insurance is going to want marketable, insurable title, and getting an order of final quiet title judgment is exactly what they're going to want to issue the title policy. Now, the super secret number 1 that all of you, I'm so happy, 243, I'm so happy that all of you stuck around for this, because this is the number 1 secret I've brought to you, because this encompasses every Foreclosure Daily lead. This encompasses every type of lead that you come across, because you never know. It's called partition, forcing the sale. So you're thinking, what does that even mean? What do you mean forcing the sale? So 2 or more people own this property. Heirs versus heirs, ex-husband versus ex-wife, A versus B, and one wants to sell and the other says no. One of them can file a lawsuit, retain the lawyer, file the lawsuit, and force the sale from the other co-tenant. Crazy law in Florida. It can happen. And we see, this is happening with people that have divorces where the property isn't even included in the divorce. So you'll have attorneys that draft up the final judgment, leave out the house. Or this is heirs versus heirs. The probate is done. Probate is done. And now it leaves it in 3 kids. You go to this one, he wants to sell. This one doesn't want to sell, and this one doesn't want to sell. He can force the sale from the other 2 and push it to a private auction, a public auction. I know you're all sticking around because it's steady right now. This is true. This can happen, and you need to think these. That's why these quiet title, the roadblocks in the partition, these are critical in the probate world because it could be heirs versus heirs, right? You could find, oh, ow, there's 6, and my book eventually is going to be called There's Always One. There's always one heir that just doesn't get along, doesn't want to sell, or it could be all 5 of them, who knows? But there's just huge strategies to some of these probates, and the partitions is where you could probably buy a quitclaim from one of them, get the quitclaim, and force the sale from the others. So this is a real teaser to another webinar we'll hopefully do one day about full-blown partitions, but buying the quitclaim from one of the co-tenants, they don't want to deal with the property. They don't want to do anything with the property. And then they quitclaim it to you. You force the sale from them. You have to be careful about when that quitclaim happens. If there's a lis pendens, you got to do it before lis pendens, and there's different things on that. But it's really crazy to think of strategies about pushing it to a sale, pushing it to an auction. In partitions, there's no guarantee you get the house, but sometimes who cares about getting the house? You just want to get the cash at the public auction, or maybe buy it back at the public auction plus get your money. So anybody's got questions about that, I will definitely entertain that in a Tangi session. And again, where can you find this? The inheritance leads, the divorce leads, the pre-probate leads, the probate leads, the foreclosure distress. Partition stuff is everywhere. Probate stuff is in foreclosure, pre-probate, probate. You can find this stuff. It's all there. And it's also a matter of solutions. It's a solution that you're looking for to see if it's going to be worth it, if it's going to be good. And with Foreclosures Daily, if you use that code AN2000, there could be some really cool deals, really cool discounts. I know sometimes during the holiday they have stuff. They just have all these different types of leads. Angela Hernandez, love Angela Hernandez. She's in the Jacksonville area. Everybody in Jacksonville really knows who Angela is because she's always at the Investor Association meetings, and love Tangi Cousins. She's there smiling, I know it. But these ladies, this company has these leads if you're looking for them. But they have all of the things that you're really looking for. And what do you tell heirs? People say, well, what do you tell these heirs? Look, it's a simple process. We're going to make it really smooth. We're going to make it very efficient. Transition from the deceased to the heirs can be smooth. Everybody gets along. Look, you may find on your first couple, people are fighting, right? It's just inevitable. On the first couple, you may find that they're fighting. But we want to make it understandable. We want to make it something where you can help these heirs get through the process. And all it is simple real estate. That is what is so amazing about probate. Don't let that probate word get in the way of what you're doing. And with these heirs, you want to make sure you follow up, you're always authentic, provide as much value with them. When you show heirs that you care, or you show that you understand, empathize with their situation that they're going through, or they want to sell and They need the time. They need to get everything out. We'll do it in 9 months. If you follow up with them and you stick with them, they're going to love it. They're going to love working with you and showing them the money, showing them dollar signs in the letters. That's always a good option too. Showing them approximately it's going to be 200,000. Approximately you've done your comps and it's going to be this. Sometimes when they see money, they really talk. I'm sure you understand. When do we run for the hills? Crazy slide you need to pay attention to. The deal has to work for everyone. I got a COVID deal and I found out that I got my numbers crunched because we didn't run the HUD statement at the end. It's always good to get the title commitment, but it's always good to get a breakdown of the net proceeds to seller. Net proceeds to seller, and it's got to make sense for the investor. It's got to make sense for the buyer, attorney, everybody in the puzzle piece. It's got to make sense. If it doesn't work for the investor, but it works for the seller and the attorney, it doesn't work. If it works for the seller, the buyer, but the attorney, it doesn't work. It's got to work for everybody, and title. So just because everybody is getting along, what does title say? And I bring title in before I start anything. But just know that not every deal is going to work out. Not everything's going to work out. And my phrase is, when do we run for the hills? You run for the hills when it doesn't work and it's not going to make any sense in what you do. So, can Al Nicoletti do probate, quiet title, partitions anywhere in Florida? And yes, I can. I can go from Miami to Jacksonville, Pensacola, Tampa, Orlando. I'm not licensed in any other states, but my Florida people, if you're from Jacksonville, I want to hear it. Drop your comment. Jacksonville, Tampa, Orlando, all you watching right now that are in Florida, put Florida, hashtag Florida, anything in the comment section. But Al Nicoletti can do probate, quiet title, partition in Florida. So you know that. So get on the list. If you want to take a picture of this, I have your email. I do a newsletter. I keep everyone informed. I have the YouTube channel. I keep a newsletter of little topics I send out on my email all the time. Get on the list. Join. It's at the bit.ly at Al Nicoletti. It's great to have you on there because I'll blast out things to you that are very informative. Again, find me on YouTube. Subscribe, hit the subscribe button. I got tons of videos that I'm posting every Friday. I'd love to see everybody comment, share, put something there that's a story. I'd love to hear what your story is. People only subscribe, but I'd like to hear it. I want to hear the story and hopefully share the experience. And then find me on Facebook, again, at Al Nicoletti. I do the videos, the content. And again, Foreclosures Daily. Thank you so much for having me. Everybody that stayed on, thank you so much for having me. I hope you learned a really quick session and you took enough and you learned enough. And there's Tangi, and that's a wrap.
Thanks a lot, Al. That was awesome. We're getting ready to open it up to Q&A. We've got about 45 questions, so we may go kind of quick. But what do they do, Al, if they don't get their question answered? You've got your screen up, right? Your phone number is up there. I see it, 904-246-9994.
Yeah, that's it. Anybody wants to find me.
Best way to ask a question is via phone, text, email, tell us.
So best way, either or. You call me, you email me, whatever works for you. I will respond. I call people back. So just email me, call me, whatever works to get a hold of me.
Okay, guys, and listen, by Friday, if you go onto the website, fill out a form, tell your friends, whatever, if you see this webinar at a different time and you mention that you saw the webinar with Tangi Cousins and Al Nicoletti, you're going to get a free county by Friday, okay? The webinar with Al Nicoletti, Tangi Cousins, you're going to get a free county by Friday. It's for the 6 month or the year. Also, we've got some questions I'd like to get started with, Al, so are you ready?
I'm ready. Do you want me to stop sharing?
No, keep sharing. Everybody wants to see your contact information.
All right, good. I'm ready.
A lot of people ask, is this going to be recorded? Yes, it is. And you will be getting the replay via email from the owner probably tomorrow and the next day or so. The owner will be sending you out a replay. What are your thoughts on, well, this is actually for me. What are our thoughts on RVM and text campaign to pre-probates? That's fine, guys. You want to be real simple, basic, right to the point. Don't talk about the probate. Don't talk about the death. The last thing you want to do is bring up a negative emotion in any of your marketing and talk track, period. Okay? So basically, I understand those are good ways to reach out, but you want to mail too. You definitely need to mail as well. Mail and texting is the most important two things that you can do is mail and text, mail text. I'm sorry, mail call, mail and call, mail and call. Texting and ringless voicemails are great additions, but you definitely want to call and you definitely want to mail. Don't skip one versus the other. We here at Foreclosure Daily is going to give you that toolbox to get deeply discounted rates for the skip tracing companies and the mailhouse company. So we have made it affordable for you to be able to afford both of them, because typically it's the price to like $1 just to mail one lead. And we've gotten these people to do it for 38 to 42 cents. So we've got 60% off the prices for you guys. Now, who do you approach on the pre-probate? Well, obviously, if there's going to be no PR, like you said, Al, it doesn't matter anyways. Right. You're going to have the address of the property. So if it's a pre-probate, all you have is the address of the property and the mailing address. So you want to reach right out to the property and just put like to the Smith family or so on and so forth. And when you skip trace, you're going to skip trace the decedent's name. And with the Foreclosures Daily Toolbox, that one link on there for the skip tracing company will also give you the surrounding family members' phone numbers in the area too at no additional charge after they charge you 15 cents for the decedent's phone number. So I hope I answered that. Will it be possible to get access to this PowerPoint presentation? Yes, this is pre-recorded. It is recorded right now, being recorded as we speak, and we are going to be emailing it out to everybody who attended. A lot of awesome bonuses, thank you. My first deal ever was a probate, so that's great news. I have a lot of people who their first deal was probate. I've had a lot of people who never did probates, and they go through Al, and now they've done their first probate. This one lady was freaking out because you closed your deal in 5 days.
Got it.
Probate in 5 days. Nobody. I've talked to other attorneys, and it's just unheard of what you're doing. Seriously.
Good.
I just began a probate with my mom. What steps should I make to make sure we get the best value for our home? How should we sell it? They're in Hernando County, and they want to become an investor. So they just began their probates with their mom. What steps should they take to make sure that they get the best value for their home?
Well, if you want to get the best value, retail value, you probably want to just get a realtor to list it for top dollar. I mean, if you get an investor, they're going to want to, they're not going to give you the top dollar. They're going to want to come in, flip it, fix it. So if you get a listing agent to list the property, put it on the MLS. I don't do any of that stuff. So maybe I'm off about retail price, but definitely you want to make sure you get the top dollar, find the right agent.
I agree. If you want top dollar, you got to probably go through an agent, because investors are going to need to make some money to help you out with your property. But by going through a realtor, you're also having expenses, you know, the listing price and whatnot, and you have to pay the percentages like 6% commission and so on and so forth. When you do sell to an investor, you can avoid a lot of that. So,
right.
When considering the COVID lockdown, how would someone access the pre-probate information? Through me, through Foreclosures Daily. So even though the courthouses might be shut down, they're still doing things electronically. Al's still in business. You know, people are still doing things through Al. Al's still closing probates, yes?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I had 80 probates, and it's only September. So probate didn't slow down my business. And even in August and July, when everything opened back up, it exploded. Yep.
So if you want leads, go through us. We're offering a free county by Friday for anybody who buys that watch this webinar with me and Al. So my understanding is that if it's a court's confirmation probate, that the property needs to be sold at not less than 90% of the opinion of the value, then how do they get deep discounts on probate properties if they're requiring that it's sold for not less than 90%?
I'm not really sure what jurisdiction or where it is.
I've never heard of that.
No, I haven't. I'm not really sure either. Well, at the end of the day, you do get a really good deal for some of the clients, right? So some of the investors do really take into consideration the condition of the house, what's wrong with it, what's it going to take to rehab, but I've not really heard that part.
Honestly, I mean, when you have an investor that offers you money for a property and you have to bring it to the judge, usually it's when you only have partial authority, not full authority. Am I right, Al?
So in homestead property, it's really just transferring the title, and the court doesn't even have to approve the contract.
Okay.
in Florida.
All right. So basically, it just depends on your jurisdiction and where you are.
Right.
Like Al said, and a lot of times I've heard that when you bring an offer to the judge, they want to know why you're selling it so cheap. Well, just the kitchen needs to be repaired, the roof needs to be redone, and they just typically sign off. I dealt with an attorney, Christine. She was on one time before Al, and they asked her this very same question, and she said the same thing. She said, look, when you bring an offer to the judge and say, hey, I've got somebody who wants to purchase my home for $80,000, why are you selling it for 80 when it's worth 120? Because it needs a new roof. Boom, she said, he signs right off. They don't care. They want it in and out of that courts as quickly as they can get it.
You need to preserve the estate, and that's the whole point of doing it.
Yep, I agree. So how are they being processed when the counties are closed? Well, they're being filed electronically, correct?
That's absolutely correct. I mean, the courthouse is never closed, first of all. Physically walking in has been closed, but everything during COVID was open. I mean, the whole electronic system. I was doing probate during April when everyone was home during the lockdown. I was doing probates electronically in Florida. So courthouse is never closed.
Yep, just because the courthouse is closed. Listen, I had a lady that worked at the courthouse, and she was also a traveling notary public. She came to my house to notarize a paper for me. She's doing all her court stuff through home. I know somebody who went through a divorce, and they did it on the phone, on a conference. They were home, their lawyer was at their desk, and it was like all done on the phone, three-way with a judge. They got a divorce on the phone.
It's possible now. You can do it on Zoom.
Yep. So, Al, happy to join you. If I set up a ladybird deed, do I need to repay title insurance?
So I don't really know about the title insurance side because I'm not a title company. I don't do title insurance. I don't do closings. I don't want to do closings, right? I love working with title companies. So I'm not sure actually what would happen on a ladybird deed issue with title insurance.
Okay. Hi, I know we're talking about Florida, but I'd like to do business in South Carolina. Do you know how much of this carries over to the South Carolina state?
I don't, but I have an attorney there. His name's Mike Scobo, and I can probably find his number.
Can you spell the last name?
Scobo, I think it's S-G-O-B-B-O. Michael Scobo.
S-G-O-B-B-O. Do you have his contact information so I can put it in the chat?
Yeah, let me get it for you.
Mike Scobo, and he's in South Carolina?
Yeah, Mike Scobo, his number's 843-324-0300.
Now, is he amazing as you are? Does he do the same stuff and close them quickly like you?
Mike's really reliable. I don't know if he could do like an Al Nicoletti special 2 to 4 days, but he can do things in South Carolina very efficiently. That's the key with probate. It's efficiency.
See, bam, there we go. Somebody in South Carolina, and Al just spotted off a number with some guy's name and phone number you can call. So he knows a lot of people, guys, throughout the state. So don't assume he doesn't know anybody in your area. Just ask. How do you word the purchase and sale agreement? Who's the seller? The estate?
So I've seen people do on that seller line at the top on page 1. They'll sometimes do the estate of Sally Mae or Sally Sue. But at the end of the day, the sellers, the heirs, have to sign at the end or initial at the bottom of each page as seller, right? So it's good to put the heirs' names on that line, but it's better if it has all of their names pretty much everywhere instead of the estate of.
Okay, we just dealt with a probate that had a will that set up a trust. We thought we could close with the trust, but it was set up in the will, not set up before death. So we did have to wait for the probate to be completed to set up the trust.
Wow, crazy. Yeah. And you know what? You don't know if you run title on that trust and you need some kind of trust administration.
Right. Okay, let's see here. Who do you begin your due diligence with? Probate leads and probate leads. Who do you begin your due diligence with, Al?
Title companies. Once you do your inspection, once you get under contract with heirs, whoever they may be, always bring the contract to the title company. That's the due diligence. That's who's going to tell you how many problems you have on title.
Okay. What are the current time frames considering the courts are closed? Well, we all know Dal's time frames is like anywhere from 2 to 14 days.
I can't make that stuff up. I really can't. It's crazy.
What other tips can you give to avoid when writing your trust?
So I don't do the trust writing, but one thing I will say, some tips, name more successor trustees, right? So that affected the title of a property we had in Volusia County, that there was only one successor trustee name. So if they died or the company doesn't want to serve, now there's nobody named. And so you leave the property in title limbo. So if you name more successor trustees, just in a will, you name more personal representatives. The more, the better. Because at least if somebody doesn't want to serve, you move to the next one. You move to the next one. So you're not going to have a title issue. Otherwise, you're going to have to find all the beneficiaries. You're going to have to hire the attorney. We're going to have to go and do the trust administration. And I'll do that all day. But if you want to avoid those situations, that's what you have to do.
Who pays or the private sale? Maybe I misunderstood that. Do you understand that? Not
really. So I think they're probably talking about something with the partition. Because in a partition, it can go to a public sale. So the force of the sale, we get to judgment. And so it can go to a public auction. It can go to private sale. And so everybody is bearing attorney's fees and costs coming off the top of the closing. So maybe that's where they're coming from.
Well, maybe this is the same person. My IRA owns an LLC that owns 9 properties in multiple states.
Not really sure how to respond to that.
Me neither. Each property is titled in its own separate title holding trust. Oh, same person.
Okay.
My wife and I own Homestead property in Florida. She is a Florida resident and I am an Alaska resident. We have a revocable trust. What probate issues will we encounter with the IRA properties?
I don't know what you're going to encounter with IRA properties, but it depends how the property in Florida is titled. If it's titled in the trust, once that person dies, it goes to the successor trustee. It's titled in a trust. I don't know how it would affect the other states at all, but Homestead is a crazy law. It's a great law in Florida. It has its quirks. It gets weird with life estates, but I wouldn't know other states.
Is ringless voicemail legal in Florida? I was told it was not right now in Florida. You'll have to check into that. Do you know, Al?
I don't know any of that stuff.
For like marketing to foreclosures and probates and stuff like that. I heard they weren't supposed to do it.
Wow.
I have a lot of people here putting their area, so I just have to click past that. Do you have contacts in other states? Well, we talked about that. He does. So if you're in a particular state and you want to know if he knows an attorney there that can help you and you're not in Florida, then just put the state on there that you're interested in. Say, I'm interested in an attorney in South Carolina state or North Carolina or wherever it is you're located, and we'll help you. Will you please give us a sample or two of how you initially approach the pre-probate lead? Well, it's not Al that would approach the pre-probate lead. You're talking about marketing. If you're talking about marketing, you basically want to just, let's say you're calling the decedent's phone and Jane Smith passed away and a woman answers the phone. My phone script, I basically recommend you just talk to Jane. Hey, Jane, this is John. I was just reaching out to you. Oh, I'm sorry, Jane passed away last week. I am so sorry. Please forgive my phone call. I know this is a really bad time. Listen, while I have you on the phone, I don't want to bother you too much, but are y'all thinking about selling the property? That's how I would approach it. That way you're kind of acting surprised that like, oh, I had no idea. You know what I mean? Now, if you're calling the family members, same thing, but different kind of talk track when you first start. Hey, this is John. I've been trying to reach out to Jane, at 863-698, blah, 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 blah. And she hasn't been answering the phone. Well, that's because she passed away last week. Oh my goodness. I am so sorry. Now you're calling the family members, right? I'm so sorry to hear about your family member. Please forgive my phone call. Listen, while I have you on the phone, are y'all thinking about selling the property? Those are good phone scripts. You can also reach out to them very generically in marketing, just letting them know that you're interested in purchasing a few select properties in their area. So that I hope helps. And when you buy the Foreclosures Daily services, you get that toolbox full of the phone scripts and the cards and all that. So Al, you're getting a lot of people saying, great job, your excellent presentation, that you did a good job. Tommy here, do you have any attorneys in California? And this was an awesome probate session, he says, by the way.
Great, I'm so happy. I think I know one. I don't have his contact on me at the time. He may have jumped on, Paul Horn. I think he jumped on another probate webinar that I did. He may be somewhere, but Paul Horn, he's in California. I don't really know that many in California.
Okay, well, I put that down there. That way they have that. I got a pre-probate from Albany, Georgia, because the heir lives in Jax. Do you have to do pre-probate? Got a pre-probate from Atlanta, Georgia, because the heir lives in Jax. I don't know if that's a question or not, but.
Well, I do know a Georgia probate attorney, so if ever anybody needed that, I do.
Okay. If you need a probate attorney in Georgia, put it on the question, and I'll answer the name. How do you handle the heirs who have already have an attorney? So like if they already filed probate, Al, can you help them out or no?
If an attorney's already assigned, I'm out, right? So they're the ones that guide where the process goes. So if they're unhappy, that's a different story. But really, it's just talking to them. They're the decision makers at the end of the day. The attorneys, us attorneys, we're not the decision makers. We represent the clients, right? So we will do what the clients want us to do. If the clients want to sell or do something and there's nobody that has bought the property, then, I mean, it's up to them at the end of the day. So just talk to the heirs. That's the best advice I can give.
Do you know any good probate attorneys in Connecticut?
I don't.
Okay. Sorry. No attorneys in Connecticut, we don't know. Can judge negate the sale? We've had judges not agree on our sales prices, so then we have to wait for the creditors period to end, which I believe is 90 days.
Wow. I wonder what jurisdiction that is and what kind of probate it was. Because again, in Florida, it really only is a homestead property. And even if it was like a second or third house, maybe on the second, third house, I understand, because you have to get a personal representative appointed who has authority to sell. So it really depends on what was happening, and getting a CMA is something that the judges usually want. But if all beneficiaries agree to the sale, I'm not sure what happened.
Dee Dockery has said a few things on here, but it's all good, Al. And the last
I love Dee. She's a big fan of mine. She watches me all the time.
She said, Dee, I can vouch that Al definitely answers his phone.
I do.
Is there a time limit to file probate? Let's say a homeowner passed away 10 years ago, Al, and somebody's just now getting involved with them. Is it too late for them to file probates?
Not at all, because we actually have one where if it was possible right now, we could do the probate, but we're waiting to find out some things on title. But the guy died 45 years ago. If there were no children or anything, it was just a spouse, we could do the probate. It would retroactively go back in time to convey title to shore up the gap in the deeds.
What's the best way to handle a probate with a real estate agent involved, Al? Are there many methods to deal with the properties that have real estate agents involved?
Not really. I'd have to know the exact circumstance of how the interaction is, but it depends. If they're listing the property, it's almost like they are dealing with it. So it's really up to them. You become a buyer at that point, or a prospective purchaser if there's an agent involved.
Do you sell divorce leads as well? Yeah, we sell divorce leads, probate, pre-probate, inheritance, code violation, eviction, pretty much whatever you need. You want us to display our prices. It's $5.99 for 3 months, $9.99 for 6 months, or $17.50 for a year. But if you buy the 6 month or the year by Friday, and you mentioned that you saw Tangi's and Al's webinar, you get a free county. The owner's giving away a free county by Friday if you make a longer commitment. And that's at the discounted rates that I just gave you. These are Al's rates, by the way. We don't usually offer these rates. Now, repeat the screen with the addresses for Al's information. Honey, that screen's showing. I can see Al's screen. I'm sure you guys can see Al's screen. Well, Al, did you have another slide up that showed addresses for Al's information?
No, this is pretty much it. I mean, every slide on the bottom, I had my email, my phone number, but the phone number there, 904-246-9994.
Let me just type that in for you, because I'm not sure why you're seeing it, because I see Al's slide, but you know, 904-246-9994 is his phone number. How much do most title commitments cost, and do you suggest getting that while under contract during the due diligence period?
Yes. If there's a contract in place, some title companies will give it to you for free if you close with them. If you don't end up closing, they could charge you about $100, $200, maybe $250. I think $250, $300 is a little high for title commitments. But once you get under contract, get the commitment right away. Don't even wait. Grab it, get it. It's going to tell us everything for you, for me, whether it's workable for everybody.
Okay. Have you ever heard of HomeTitleLock.com? It's a title is transferred fraudulently, and a new mortgage is placed on the property and the owner is evicted?
I have no idea.
We've not heard of that. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm saying it wrong. Have you ever heard of HomeTitleLock.com? A title is transferred fraudulently and a new mortgage is placed on the property and the owner is evicted. I've not heard of anything like that.
Well, the only thing I'm thinking is that wild deed story. I was explaining how somebody owned the title to the property and there's somebody recorded just a wild deed and.
Huh. Where can I find pre-probates in New York? Well, we can help you out with that. So reach out to your representative if you're currently working with a representative, either myself, Angela, or Chris, whichever one you're working with currently. If you don't know, just fill out a form with the company. If you're not already working with a representative, it's ForeclosuresDaily.com. Put down Al Nicoletti and Tangi Cousins webinar, BOGO. You can get that free county. So we can definitely help you out with the 5 boroughs in New York. Al is true. Al, is it true that most of the probate attorneys already have a realtor that they're working with?
No, that is not. And there could be investors, there may be nobody. I mean, there could be realtors, there could be somebody on it, but many times it's a lot of investors, maybe they want to keep the property, right? So sometimes they want to go through the probate process so title's transferred.
What is the Georgia information for the attorney in Georgia, you know, Al?
I'm going to pull that up for you right now.
While you're pulling that up, other strategies for that 90%, and if the court requires 90%, it might be a short sale and the bank might require this too, correct?
I have no idea what the 90% thing is unless.
I've not heard of that either.
I know, I haven't heard of that one.
So tell us what states you're in on the 90%, just put 90% in your state next to it. But so the Georgia information, do you have that or no?
Yeah, I do. So her name is Ashley Duell. And for probate in Georgia, it's 770-379-1450.
Can you spell her last name?
Duell, D-U-E-L.
Boy, you just better get your Rolodex or your information out.
I know.
Address book. So
Okay.
the next time we do this.
You got it.
Here we go. How about attorney in Michigan, dear?
I don't, but I do know people in Michigan. So maybe one day I'm going to be looking around for that Michigan probate attorney.
Do you know what a ladybird deed is?
Yes, a ladybird deed is it's a deed that's retitling the way the property is. So A owns it. Now he wants to only own it for his life, so his children can avoid probate. So he retitles it himself as the life tenant, leaves remaindermen, beneficiaries that are going to inherit it upon his passing. But the function of a ladybird deed is really cute because even when they retitle it as a life estate or with the enhanced life estate, they can still undo it. That's the function of the ladybird. It still can be undone even after they do it.
Yeah, so if your children really upset you, just know that you can change that stuff.
You change it, yeah.
So do you know any probate attorneys in Texas?
No, but shout out to Jeff Rhodes. Jeff is, his company is Marketing by Hand, and Jeff knows people in Texas. I think he knows a probate attorney over there. I'd have to find out where Jeff's number is.
Angela knows that. Angela, if you're on,
Yeah.
put in the chat Jeff Rhodes information, and you can also look up marketingbyhand.com. We know exactly who that guy is. Do you have a probate attorney in Detroit or PA?
I could find out. That's another state that I have friends in, but I don't know the probate attorney over there just yet.
Miami.
South Carolina, Georgia, Tennessee, California, we kind of went through. Texas, not so much.
Miami. Al's Miami. Al's Florida. If you want
Florida. I'm all Florida.
in Florida, it's Al. So definitely reach out to Al. 904-246-9994. Can you share a number and contact Georgia? Yeah, we just shared the number for the guy in Georgia, right?
Yep.
Actually the woman. Can you share a number and contact for Georgia? I have a seller that may need to do a partition action. Would that be Ashley as well?
I don't know if partition's allowed in Georgia, right? So Florida is really unique with that in the sense that they allow that forced sale, but in Georgia, I'm not sure.
Okay. And you said no. Did you give us a Texas attorney or no?
I don't know. Jeff Rhodes would know more than I would.
Okay, Jeff Rhodes, marketing by hand. Would you purchase a probate property with a Medicare or Medicaid lien on it?
It really depends. It depends. If it's Homestead, it depends if it sticks. It could stick with the property. If it's a federal lien, it really depends circumstance by circumstance.
Is a living trust any different? I just listed a home that is in a living trust. One of the spouses died.
Well, it depends what the trust says, right? Property's titled in a trust. Who's the trustee? If the person that died was the trustee, now they need to do something where who's the successor trustee. So it really depends on what the trust document says. And in Florida, you can even have the copy of the trust that would suffice.
Is a ladybird deed legal to bypass probate? I'm pretty sure you said that if you're still living and you do a ladybird deed, your children don't have to put the house through probate.
Right. If you retitle it with a ladybird deed, and the ladybird deed has that language of with powerty to convey, revoke, that's a ladybird deed. Wow.
Is Homestead in other states, or is it just in Florida, Al?
Apparently, Texas has an incredible homestead law. I think California may, but Texas rings a bell. I think they have a homestead law in Georgia as well. But Florida's just so unique with the creditors, the taxation exemption, and just all the devised restrictions in Florida.
Do you have an attorney in Virginia or North Carolina?
I do in Virginia, actually. I'll pull it up for you.
Well, that's your homework, Al. So
I know. I need to just get the Rolodex together.
In a few months, we want you to come back with just your Rolodex, and we'll just sit here for an hour and a half and give out state attorneys.
That's it. That's all we're going to do. In this state, you have this. In this state.
All right. So while you're looking for the Virginia Beach attorney, do you have one in North Carolina too, or no?
I probably do. I just don't have it offhand. I mean, okay. I only can get
Al. Email him on the North Carolina one. Let me know if you find the Virginia one. Mm-hmm. You already gave out the Georgia one. What are the typical attorney costs on a probate?
Typical attorney costs could be anywhere of $250 in Florida, $250 to maybe $650. Usually, if it's the primary residence, it's $250. But if you're now talking about land or the value of the estate is over $75,000, you're now maybe looking at the newspaper publication costs and opening the court file. So you're looking at probably $650, but general typical probate costs are $250.
If somebody finds somebody that's already done a probate, but it's taking forever, can they change attorneys and use you instead?
It's possible if the heirs are not happy.
Good. Do you know an attorney in New Jersey?
Not offhand. I really need to get this Rolodex. We're going to get this together, Tanji.
New York?
No, I got to get it together.
All right. So, I found an abandoned house in Baldwin County, Alabama, where the owner had died with no next of kin, according to the neighbors. How do I go about trying to find any info about this probate?
Death certificate.
Or abandoned house, I mean.
Well, the death certificate, if you can pull it in Alabama, in Florida, death certificates, anybody can get them if you're over 18 without cause of death. And on the death certificate, it'll say the informant's name. So just when you think there's no informant, check the death certificate. That'll be a great lead source for you.
Check the death certificate. And that's public knowledge. Does the naming of the ladybird deed have to do with LBJ? I don't know.
Yes, it does. It all started because of Lyndon B. Johnson and the ladybird.
Anthony Rodriguez says Allison Tipton with Tipton Law in San Antonio is great.
Awesome.
Thank you for that. We really appreciate that. Do you have information? Does Al have any information blog that he routinely sends updates and followers and all that on?
Yes. Check out the YouTube channel. I still see 147 people on, which is amazing. Check out the YouTube channel. That's going to have tons of content. Hit the subscribe button on the YouTube channel. You'll find me on there. And I post video every Friday, or find me on Facebook, add Al Nicoletti on Facebook. And if you really want the newsletter I blast out, send me an email, shoot me a messenger email, and I'll make sure I have added your email to the newsletter so that every 2 weeks when I do my YouTube blast or my email, it'll be on there.
Al, somebody said that they're subscribing to your YouTube channel, but they can't find your current Facebook page. Sorry, guys, I didn't mean to cough. I forgot to mute.
I think if you just go in Facebook, Al Nicoletti, and you'll see my picture there. Like behind a lake. You may see me there. I don't know other than that.
Todd Fulton said, is my question being seen? Todd, send me your question again. I may have hit dismiss on accident. Sometimes that happens. But Todd, if you're still on, send me your question. I have a deal where the husband and wife are divorced. Ex-husband does live in the house for the past year, but he just died. What questions should they be asking? They're both on the deed in the public record as well as mortgage. They had no kids. Should I do a title commitment?
That could be a great partition, because again, the ex-wife, or she could either quit claim to the investor. I mean, depending on the mortgage, if there's a foreclosure, all of that, but they could quit claim to the investor, or the ex-wife can retain the attorney and force the sale from the estate of the ex-husband, because if they're both on title and the final judgment of divorce never included the property, then it's treated as equal co-tenants, and he's going to get his 50%. It's possible.
If the decedent had multiple properties, do they all go to probate?
Yes, if it's in the name of the deceased, yes.
Is $250 to $650 include the probate attorney's fees?
No, they do not. Attorney's fees can range. If it's really straightforward, one heir, it could be $2,000. It could be $2,500. It really depends. It could be $3,000. It depends on every scenario.
What is the difference between pre-probate, probate, and inheritance? I can help them out with that. A pre-probate basically means that they died last week. We verified there's real estate attached, and we give the lead to you this week. So they died last week. A probate means they filed probate last week. Now, an inheritance, clearly you're going to have the people who inherit the property via a trust, just like you will in the pre-probate, but the inheritance list will also include family deed transfers, a property that was transferred from one family member to the other in the amount of $0. So yes, you should purchase all three lists if you can, because it's called striking the iron while it's hot and you're hitting them during different points. What if there's a trust, Al? I don't know if that was in reference to this question you just answered or not, but.
I mean, again, with a trusts avoid probate. So if there's a trust on the property, you're really looking for who the trustee is. That is the person that's going to be able to negotiate, sign the contract, get the beneficiaries to agree, or knows what the contents of the trust say. Now, let's just say there's no successor trustee. That's where we were kind of talking about. That's when you get your issue spot flag up and go, wait a second, Al was talking about something with trust administration. So we have to open up a court proceeding to get a successor trustee appointed.
Okay, we're gonna answer a couple more questions and then we gotta go, guys. I dismissed all the other questions about the states. Reach out to Al if you wanna know the states, if he knows attorneys in particular states and we didn't get to your state. He's still looking for the Virginia attorney. Email him.
That'd be perfect.
attorneynicoletti@gmail.com.
That's it.
Or you can reach him at 904-246-9994. That's attorneynicoletti@gmail.com. I want to talk to you about divorce leads for myself listings. Do you recommend Pinellas or Pasco? I'm in Palm. Absolutely, Beth. I mean, if you want to do divorce leads, I mean, I think it's a really good idea. And people do virtual wholesaling all the time. So if you want to go to Palm Harbor, I mean, people go out of their area all the time and they do virtual. So, I mean, you could totally do that. Please give an example of how we could convince 1 out of 3 heirs to give us a quitclaim deed and how the forced sale would likely occur, assuming that there is no agreement between the heirs.
It's just the title owner, right? So if you have 3 people that are on title and 1 is a co-tenant, it's a matter of what they're agreeable to sell you their 1/3 interest, right? So if they agree to whatever price they want, then you get the 1/3. You always want to run your numbers in partitions. Some defenses that could come up are equitable accounting. So maybe these 2 we're paying for taxes and mortgages. Always run your numbers and always find out the situation before doing anything. Making sure that any quick claim that's done is before a lis pendens, because then you're not the presumed owner of the property. But it's possible to do it.
Okay, so the information that comes on a pre-probate lead is just basically the decedent's name, the decedent's address, the decedent's mailing address, and some property appraiser's data. As long as you have that, you're golden. You can mark it right to the property. Listen, it is very much their job to check the mail, liquidate the assets, and settle the estate. And if they're not, they can have the mail forwarded for 6 months to a year after the death, is from what I understand. So, I mean, even if you don't have the PR's information, like everybody thinks they have to have, you have the name and address of the person that died, you're golden. You can skip trace it, get the decedent's phone number, get the decedent's surrounding family phone numbers. You can mail the property. You can go knock on the door. You can talk to the neighbors. Believe it or not, you can get phone numbers from neighbors all day long. So just do different things, guys. But pre-probates, that's the information that comes on there. Between the pre-probate, probate, and inheritance, which typically has more data. And if you were just going to start with one, what would you suggest as far as being bang for your buck? Well, it just depends on your county. I mean, what information your county provides, what area you're in. Just reach out to your representative that you're currently working with at Foreclosure Daily and ask that question. How long after the death of a person do you get the death certificate? When somebody dies, how long do they have? They have like just a few days, don't they?
I believe it's a few days, but I mean, once there's a death certificate, anybody in Florida over 18 can get the death certificate without cause of death. And that'll have informants' names, next of kin. Maybe there's no wife, no kids, no parents, but there's brothers, sisters, nieces, nephews. It'll be on there.
Okay, last two questions, and then we got to close this up. And these are the only two questions left, so that's perfect. So nobody say anything else. No, I'm just kidding. If you have any lingering questions, email Al, attorney Nicoletti at gmail.com. Transfer on death deed or ladybird deed, which is better?
I don't know what the transfer on death deed is, but in Florida, there's life estate deeds and there's enhanced life estate deeds. It depends on the perspective of who's doing the deed. So if you're the parents and you want to give it to the kids, you want to do a ladybird deed because you still maintain control over your adult children, right? But if you're the children, the adult children are going to want a life estate deed for the parent, because in order for them to sell, they're going to need the approval of the children, the beneficiaries. So it depends on the perspective of who's creating the deed and who's looking for it.
Okay, I have a deal where the husband and wife are divorced. It was a homesteaded property in Charlotte County. Ex-husband lived in the house for the past year, and that's question. Actually, we answered that question earlier. So guys, we're gonna go ahead and wrap this up. Don't forget to mention that you saw the webinar with Tangi Cousins and Al Nicoletti. If you do that by Friday, you're gonna get a free county for anybody who purchases 6 months of any of our leads or a year. Al, thank you so much. And we look forward to having you again next year. We're going to wait a few months and then have you on again. Bring your Rolodex back. We'll just, we'll give a little more time for Q&A.
I'm going to be spitting it off next time. I'm going to say New York, this one, New Jersey.
You know what I would recommend, honestly, Al? If everybody stays till the end, maybe Al will get a slide with the state and the attorney's contact information.
Look at that. Oh, we got some.
That'll be like a bonus.
All right. That'll be secret number 1 next time.
Right? Thank you so much. We'll see you soon, Al.
Thank you so much, Tangi. And thank you again, ForeclosuresDaily.com. And anybody that has questions, you got my information, phone number, find me. Thank you again.
All right, guys, have a great night. I'm going to go ahead and sign off now.